Hello and welcome to Valley Sports Telegram's podcast. This is going to be our week look ahead. We're going to take a preview of the games coming up. But first, I want to say thank you for being patient. Thank you for waiting. And sorry we did not have a recap. As you might hear from my voice, somebody was under the weather. And we couldn't really do this in another format. So thank you for that. We will touch on some of the games from last week, but our focus is mostly going to be on what's coming up. With me, as always, is Kenny Hodges.
Man, I'm doing all right, man. Anytime we get a chance to talk about the game that we love and talk about what's going on Thursday and Friday night coming up, hey, it's always a good time. So I'm ready to roll, man. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Not going to spend much time getting anything else. So we've got a bunch of games. We got 2 Thursday games. We have Cleveland visiting Hamilton. That's an early game. So, if you're going to make it out to that game, I'm sorry, we cannot, due to our other obligations that we've got to handle. Otherwise, either Kenny or myself or even Kaylee would have loved to have been there to see you guys. That's actually a game we're trying to keep an eye on. Also on Thursday, Chavez is going into Hollywood. That's a bit of a later start, so we might be there if we can make it work. But that's actually kind of one that I'm a little interested in because Hollywood blew out Van Nuys, and Chavez is going to go in with their defense and try to see if they can flip the script. Panorama's hosting View Park Friday night. Van Nuys is hosting Del Oro on Friday night. The rest of these will be Friday evening. Taft is hosting Granada. Actually, Taft is visiting Grant. I'm sorry. My brain is still coming around. El Camino is at Franklin. Heritage Christian will be hosting Sierra Vista. Birmingham is hosting Wainimi, who lost to Heritage last weekend. Chatsworth is hosting Reseda in what I think is actually going to be an interesting game because Reseda's defense gets to try to focus on a one-dimensional attack that it has some wrinkles. It's not where they're going to try to do too much against them. I think that'll be interesting, even though, unfortunately, I also think it's going to be a little lopsided. And the last one that I left on purpose is because Kenny's going to be there. Paulie is going to be at Canoga, and I'll let him get into that later. But in these...
So there are a couple of ones that kind of stand out, starting with that Hamilton and Cleveland game here on Thursday afternoon. That's a sneaky tough matchup for Cleveland. That's a game they should win, but it's never easy traveling to go take on a team on that side of the city section in an early afternoon window. Sometimes it's hard to focus. The preparation is always a little different. It's a little bit off. And if you remember last year with Cleveland, they got off to a hot start, and then they took a trip to Carson, and things sort of kind of derailed a little bit for their season. So I know they'll have that in the back of their mind, and they'll be looking to kind of go in and kind of handle business and kind of put a statement down early to let everybody know that this is a different team than what they were last year. But that's still a sneaky tough matchup to go on the road to Hamilton and kind of handle business there. The Chavez Hollywood game is also interesting because we're trying to figure out exactly what Hollywood is. We thought Van Nuys maybe had kind of turned the corner in the program a little bit, and maybe was starting to find a little bit of consistency. And then this Hollywood team went and put 60 on them. So is it because Van Nuys is struggling and still trying to figure some things out, or is Hollywood's offense really built that way? I know for sure what we're gonna find out is that Chavez is going to test him. Even though Chavez has some issues kind of putting things together consistently offensively, they're going to beat you up on defense, and they're going to make you find out if you really want to play football. So that's going to be an interesting one to see what Chavez's defense can do, and if the offense can find enough points to score with a team that like Hollywood, who clearly can put the ball in the end zone. And yeah, like I said, there are some matchups. It's going to be interesting to see like Taft bounce back after a tough loss last week, what they can do at Grant. Grant is kind of in a youth phase and guys are kind of learning on the fly on the varsity level. So sparks might fly there for Taft in that game. And a game that I'm going to go see with Poly and Canoga, even though both teams have kind of stumbled out of the gates, is going to be an interesting matchup because someone is finally going to get a chance to put a win on the scoreboard. I'm sure Canoga is going to be rocking. It's an opportunity for Lucius Mills to get his first win as a coach under his belt for that Canoga program and see if they can get things kind of turned back the way they want to, build some positive momentum before they head into one of these teams will get a chance to build some positive momentum before they head into league play next week.
And then the more challenging type matchups that are kind of closer to us that we'll be keeping an eye on. Arleta is hosting Trinity Classical, which, you know, you've got a Southern Section school coming in, private school. That'll be a good test for them before league play begins next week. Sylmar has Santa Monica. That's also, you know, going to be quite the challenge. Santa Monica is usually a bit of a bigger team. Typically, kind of want to take your lumps before you get in the league, right? And then Village Christian and Campbell Hall. This might be the first real big test for Village. Campbell Hall's been doing pretty good this year, and Village was really just blown off everyone they play. Blowing the doors off of their opponents. Chase Everett has been throwing for insane numbers. And can he keep it up? He's got the weapons. That defense has been very, very strong. So they'll be put to the test this week. These are three really, really key matchups that we're keeping an eye on.
Those matchups are going to be fun. Arleta and Trinity Classical, that's a game. It's a litmus test. You really get to see where you are, and it's a kind of an important game for Arleta to kind of put their best foot forward, coming off of a loss last week, to kind of see if they can kind of get the ship righted before they kind of go in the East Valley play, if they really have intentions and designs on winning the game. The other game that kind of really stands out is that Village game to me, because it's a tough test, because it's a game that, based on Village's weapons, they should be able to win, but it's never easy going on the road. It's never easy going on the road against a Southern Section opponent like Campbell Hall, even though Campbell Hall hasn't really knocked your socks off with their play to begin the year. I mean, their only win so far in the year was against a North Hollywood squad. But with what Chase Everett can do, this is the sort of games that sort of can signify that we're moving in the right direction. They're going to want to kind of bounce back. Last week wasn't the best showing for them, but again, going on the road to Salesian is not an easy game to kind of win. So we'll see what they can do. We'll see what they can do. Actually, my mistake. They are at home this week, Village. But even so, Campbell Hall does present some issues, especially running the ball. They're going to test you. They're going to try to keep Everett off the field. So it's going to be interesting to see if Village can kind of sort of bounce back and kind of show us that they're the team that we think that they are. They've put up 114 points on the board already through 3 games. We know what they can do offensively. But in order to beat teams like Campbell Hall or to beat a team last week like Salesian, you got to be able to put 4 quarters together on all 3 phases. So they'll be looking to do that this week. So those are some of the things that we are sort of looking forward to.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm going to take a moment and wish the kids at North Hollywood well. Scott Fair had to prioritize the health of his team and the league play starting, next week for them. 12 starters out with injury. Never, something you want to have to worry about. So, I say good on him. It sucks because they're going to be playing a good Burroughs team for them to kind of litmus test going into league play. But, sometimes you got to prioritize health. And when you have a short week like this week was, those kids come first. And, number 2 is league and number 3 is games. So, they'll be taking the week to get these kids healthy, get them back, getting them ready for next week. And Burroughs might have an opponent because a non-Valley school in La Cañada also lost their opponent. So we'll see how that kind of plays out over the next 24 hours. But that's there. And that'll lead me to the 2 matchups we have kind of at the top of our attention. The first one is not the game of the week. Second one will be. Verdugo Hills is hosting San Fernando. This very well almost was game of the week. Both teams are 3-0. Both teams have been very impressive against competition they should be defeating. And we're excited to get eyeballs on them for this. This is Friday evening. Kenny, what do you got?
Yes, this is an interesting matchup because when you look at where both these programs were at this point last season, we were kind of scratching our head at what was happening because it was sort of unbecoming of both programs to struggle the way they did. So now you fast forward to this season where both teams have strong veteran senior leadership, sort of kind of captaining the ship for both teams. Both these coaching staffs have a beat on these rosters in terms of getting the most out of these kids. And now you look at 2 teams sitting at 3-0. The winner of this game has an opportunity to head into league play with all the momentum in the world and an opportunity to kind of really set themselves up for a strong postseason run. Sebastian Herate is going to, we know he's getting the ball for Verdugo. But it's going to be interesting to see if he can find holes or they can find ways to get him the ball against the San Fernando defense that has been stingy and hasn't been giving up much to anybody so far this season. So it's going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be tough for San Fernando going on the road to Verdugo. Not an easy place to go play. And it's going to be tough for Verdugo because this San Fernando team has got it all to play for. They have the look and feel of what Canoga Park was last year with all their senior leaders and how they sort of, right at this point of the year, right before they got into Valley Mission play, you could see them starting to sort of figure out who they wanted to be. And then they started beating the doors off of people. So we could be looking at that with San Fernando. And this Friday night is going to tell us a lot about where both of these teams are going to be headed as they get in the league.
Yeah, it is. And I'm actually really excited about this matchup. And the game of the week is also actually really, really exciting. Granada Hills is visiting Kennedy in their annual rivalry. This is going to be a bigger test, I think, for Kennedy in that sense of how ready are they to dominate the Valley mission. And that's their goal. That's their plan. They want that in addition to another city ring. We have said before, last couple weeks, that they might not be a team who's going to compete to win Division One, but they believe they're a team that belongs in that division this season. And this is the test. You're reigning, defending Division One champions, Granada Hills. Both teams are kind of putting it together a little bit. Had some big weeks last week, bouncing back. So it's going to be a very, very, very exciting matchup. Before I kick it to you, Kenny, when I saw Granada Hills 2 weeks ago now, I was approached and I was told, well, you guys only talk about 2 players on defense. There's more than them. And I looked at this young man and I said, I see you. I hear you. Make us talk about you. Please. I'm not saying it in any other way. Just, yeah, we want to. So give us a reason to talk about you. And so far he's done that since. Kenny, I'm going to let you take it because you actually have a lot to say.
Yeah, this is a game that if you love Valley football, this is a game that it's one of the games that you kind of circle on the calendar every year. The battle for the Tina, this trophy that they play for, the Battle of Granada Hills, right? So these are 2 teams, these are 2 programs that know each other very well. And there's going to be some receipts, right? 2 years ago, go back 2 years ago when Kennedy eked out a tough win against Granada. I think they beat him 14-8. Last year, Granada, led by Dijon Stanley, said, nope, I didn't play in that game 2 years ago, so we got something for you. And they went out at home and they put 62 on Kennedy. This year, now it's Kennedy's turn to say, nope, we remember what you did to us last year. And this is not the same team last year. And the team from last year, after that, went on to claim a Division II title. So we're talking about, you want to talk about marquee, we have a matchup of 2 of the 2 reigning city champions going against each other. Kennedy with designs of being a Division I champion this year. Granada thinking they got the talent to compete or maybe challenge to get an open spot. But the proof is going to be in the pudding. When you look at a team like Kennedy, you want to continue, you want to see progression from what they did last year. And that's exactly what we've seen. Through 3 games this year, they've already put 115 points on the board, 88 points in the last 2 weeks, and both of those games were on the road. At Lincoln, they had a 60-22 win at Lincoln, and then a 28-20 tough win on the road at Westchester. Not an easy place to go play. So it kind of tells you that there's a maturity about this team, that they're handling business and they're going to be ready for the moment, maybe in a way that they weren't ready for the moment last season. And now they're hosting this game at home, and they're going to give Granada everything they want in terms of pace, in terms of toughness, in terms of grit. That's what this Kennedy program is built on, and that's what they're going to bring to the table. Now, you look at the other side, Granada, like you said, they started the year with the intentions and designs on maybe being an open team. And through the first couple of weeks of the year, they had the tie to open up in week 0. Then they had the big loss to Village. And you kind of said, maybe it's not in the cards for them. Maybe they're still a top D1 team, but a D1 team nonetheless and not open. Then you see what they go on the road last week and do at Palisades, where I don't know how a 26-10 game, 28-10, whatever final score was, could feel more like a blowout than it did, but it did. It didn't feel like Palisades really was in the position to really challenge them once Granada got the lead. And a lot was due in part to Darrell Stanley kind of having his first real sort of breakout moment of the season where you really sort of kind of felt like if Granada was going to do the things they wanted to do this year, someone was going to have to kind of step up and emerge as that leader. Last year, unquestioned, Dijon Stanley was their leader. He's gone on to college. He's at Utah doing his thing. So it was going to be incumbent on somebody to kind of step up and kind of be the leader and take that role. And his cousin Darrell, who sort of was the Robin to Batman last year, has definitely stepped up, and he has decided he is definitely going to be Batman. And they put him in positions to sort of kind of control and dominate the game at Palisades, and that's exactly what he did. So that was positive to see. That might signify this program sort of turning that corner and being able to kind of continue that sort of dominant play that they showed last season when they rolled to a D1 championship. On the other side of the ball for Granada, we talk about Oliver Taylor and Chance Hexamer. We talk about Inalobo and Darrell in the secondary. But number 11, Big John Williamson, he was a game wrecker last week. And like Arshavir said, you want us to talk about you got to be a kid that makes a difference on the field. And his tape last week at Palisades really popped. He was all over the place. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't keep him from wrecking the middle. He made it impossible for Palisades to get any momentum running the football. And because he began to kind of collapse the middle of the defense, made it so much easier for his defensive ends to really get involved and really sort of take Palisades out of their rhythm. So shout outs to Big John Williamson. He is definitely emerging as a real X factor on this team. As a senior, you see his leadership kind of exude everywhere. And now you're talking about a third guy along that line that isn't just doing what Sean Lopez did last year, which was kind of occupy the middle and allow those defensive ends to kind of do their thing. No, this guy is as potent as those two guys are on the outside. So there's just no time for quarterbacks to do anything. So Diego Montes is going to have his work cut out for him, for Kennedy, trying to get the ball out. Lonzo Fuentes Gutierrez is going to have his work cut out for him, trying to find gaps to run the football, because we know what this Granada front can do. So all in all, this is going to be a tremendous game. There's a lot of talented players on both sides. Both of these coaching staffs are top notch in terms of their ability to sort of change things on the fly. Kudos to Granada last week when the offense kind of was hit or miss early in the game. They put Darrell in as sort of the wildcat quarterback, and it really made it difficult for Palisades to kind of decipher who was getting the ball. It led to a long Inalobo touchdown. So kudos to them for making that change. That's a wrinkle that's really going to give Kennedy some fits to have to figure out. But conversely, Kennedy, like I said, they put up 88 points in 2 road games the last 2 weeks. So they're nothing to sneeze at either. We could see a lot of points in this game. This thing could come down to who has the ball last. All I know is worthy of being the game of the week, and it should be fun to watch. And I hope everybody packs the stands and go watch these two teams battle it out for Tina.
Oh, you know that place is going to be rocking. This is a rivalry game. That place is going to be rocking.
Granada had on their Instagram, they showing up in black. You know what black means. They showing up for a funeral. So that's the running theme here. So it's going to be fun.
It is. And John Williamson, I told you, make us talk about you, and you did. And everybody watching, all the kids, go ball out. We'd love to talk about you. You got to give us something to talk about, please. And everybody watching, thank you. Go pack the stands. You're not at Kennedy. We know it's going to be crazy. Verdugo, San Fernando, we know that's going to be pretty full. Silmar, Santa Monica, get out. Watch that. Village Campbell Hall, we know is going to be pretty crazy. They play at Glendale College. That's going to be nice and fun. You guys, you might be at work, but our lead is going to be a good one. Some of these travel games are going to be rough. Get out there, Chatsworth. Come out, Reseda. Make the little trek to Chatsworth. It ain't that far. Fans in Van Nuys, go pack that stadium. Show the Wolves that you're there. You know, these guys are shepherding a program that they had to save. Come on. Taft and Grant, travel, get out there. So I know I missed a couple, I missed a few, but come on. These teams are really putting it together. These coaches are taking care of these kids, making sure they can come out and they can perform and they can play. And you guys can have something to watch. It's Friday Night Lights for the most part. And we enjoy bringing you this. We enjoy doing it, and they enjoy playing. So come out, watch. Thank you for watching us. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and we will have our weekly recap back next week.
Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Like I said, go out and support. And if you can't get out, hey, come right back to us. We spend hours and hours and hours during the week talking to these coaches, talking to these kids, scouring, watching these games, hunting down film, just so we give you informed opinions about everything you need to know that's going on in the Valley so we can continue to pump these kids up. And if you like what you're hearing, leave a like, comment. We read the comments, subscribe, and come right back here for more and more coverage. So thank you, guys. We love you. Please.